All right, thank you so much for being here. This is a very exciting event because it is one of the strongest partnerships we have between our MAP boosters and our MAP student leadership. So I am very pleased to introduce our MAP speaker series co-heads. So Krithi Sankar and Maddie Stewart are...
Hey guys, thanks so much for coming out here with us this afternoon. My name is Maddie Stewart, and I am the head of the MAP Speaker Series.
And I'm Krithi, and I'm the co-head.
And we'll be very pleased to welcome you. Thanks so much for our speakers for coming out here. I'd like to give a warm welcome to David, Mandell, Kendall, Milton, and Eric Wong.
Tonight, our alumni speakers will be talking about their career pathways and share insights on how to pursue a passion for the film industry for those in the audience who are considering this field for their career. Our speakers will also share some of their work and will gladly answer some questions for us.
Without further ado, give a warm welcome to our speakers.
Here, right over here.
Sorry.
So first, we're going to start off with each of the speakers introducing themselves, so go ahead.
Oh, great.
Turn it on.
I'm trying. Hello?
Yes,
Yes.
there you go.
I'm in the creative space, not the technical space. So, hello, my name is David Mandell. I graduated Saratoga in 2011. Yes! There it is. Then I went to USC, studied acting in the business of entertainment, and after USC, started to get into writing and directing. So that's what I'm doing now. I'm adapting a couple of novels. I got them. Wait. No, I got it. It's fine. Thank you. Every Note play in the Futures. We're adapting the Futures into a limited series we're packaging right now. You don't know what that means, but it just means we're going out to actors, directors. We have interest from one actress from Stranger Things, and then directors. We've had some come in, and then they quickly leave. It's just what happens in entertainment. Now, don't let that fool you. I am still a receptionist at a tech company. It's a glamorous job in the film industry. You're either making everything or nothing. So it is something that you just have to work on every day. But that is me.
Okay, all right. Hi, I'm Kendall. I graduated Saratoga in 2012. Right? Yeah. I don't think I've been back since, to be honest, so this is really crazy, but really awesome. I then went to Loyola Marymount University, where I studied writing for film and TV, and where I met the love of my life, not in that way, but my writing partner, Lily Drew, who is not here, and it's really weird, my best friend. And we just finished, through private investors and fundraising, wrote and produced and directed a TV pilot together and had the guidance of a producer from Happy Madison, which is Adam Sandler's company, help us with that and edited it, and now it's finished, and now we're going out and pitching it to hopefully Netflix and Sony, but again, which will tell you is meetings get pushed, things take a lot longer than you think, and you gotta want it, you know what I mean? So it's like that sort of a thing, and then we also wrote a Christmas movie. Most of my content, by the way, is a little raunchier. If you like Amy Schumer, Broad City, that's my vibe. But we wrote a Christmas movie because I'm also a nanny and I wanted little girls that I'm nanny for to actually see something I wrote for once. And it's in the realm of like Elf, but based in like kind of female empowerment. And that's actually moving really fast. We just got the director he directs the show Shameless and the Versace Trials, if you guys have ever seen those, attached to that. And we have a potential investor, and so that seems to be moving really fast, sorry. And so those are the two kind of main projects I'm working on. And then I also have another pilot that I wrote with Lily, and we're pitching that. But I'll talk about this more later. We've utilized social media a lot to sort of grow a presence for ourselves. We're called the Eskimo Sisters. Please follow us. We really appreciate the support. And I would just say, like, creating your own content, because I think we've all done it, is a great way to, like, get people to notice you. And it's kind of what, like, I don't know, like Issa Rae did, and Broad City, and everyone. So, yeah, that's me. I hope I explained everything I was supposed to explain. And this is my old lacrosse coach.
Yeah, I'm Eric. I'm class of 2006. Thank you. We did not have this program or any sort of video program when I was here. So I actually started on a track that was very much not video. I was in football track. I worked for the 49ers. I worked for Michigan's football team. I coached a little football when I was back here. I coached girls lacrosse when I met Kendall. It was great. She was good. She was clearly substantially above average.
Thank you.
But then I eventually went back to Chapman to do grad school to get my screenwriting degree. I worked for a little bit on Conan O'Brien in the monologue department. And then after school, I got to Bobcat Studios, which is a production studio from people who did Deadliest Catch, Monster Garage, Storage Wars, kind of that whole realm of manly, dirty things, unscripted content. I started there as like a student fellow, then development assistant, and now I'm a junior editor on a show called The American Farm, which is on tonight on the History Channel.
Woo! Right.
Watch it so we can get a second season. But I was a junior editor on that for the first 7 episodes, and I was the editor for the season finale. And now I'm on hiatus, which means the show ended. And so I'm chilling and working on my own projects, and again, hoping there's a second season. But that's my deal.
All right, David. So I'm wondering, what things did you do at a young age that led you to choose your career?
At Saratoga, I was involved in a lot of things just because I loved moving. I had a lot of nervous energy. You can ask Carrie Monarchy can attest to all of that. So I did marching band, I did speech and debate, I did ASB, I did drama, which Carrie used to be drama teacher. And to me, I just loved creating. I loved being creative and working with a lot of other people, and that kind of basically led me to USC to study theater. And Carrie called it a long time ago. She always said you'd be a director, and I said, no, I want to be an actor because I'm really funny. And she was like, no, you're a director. And what I've learned is everything that I did at Saratoga led me to become a director, because you work with everyone, they're collaborative, and you create every day. So basically, all of my extracurricular, and class helped. No, but everything that I did was led me to be a filmmaker. It's collaborative, it's creative, and I'm always creating.
Would you like to show a piece of your work?
I would love that. I have 2 clips. One from my first short film that I ever did. It's called Tea Time with Mr. Patterson. If you ever watched Hannah Montana, Emily Osment is the mom, and we can just play like 30 seconds, and I guess I can talk about it.
Can't focus, he was busy.
The audio was wrong.
Hey!
That's probably fine now.
Hush, little baby, don't
Now it's saying, yeah.
Mama's gonna buy you a mockingbird.
You can fast forward to that part again. That's fine, yeah. Perfect.
Patterson.
Oh, look at the time. I better go. Time sure flies when you're having fun. Very busy. I'll see you later, Lucy.
Fine.
What's the matter?
Can't focus, he was busy. Hey! Mom, I'm not Sure, Mom. I'm the tickle monster. Come here. I only come out when the room is dirty. Come here. I'll clean it up.
And you can pause there. So this was a time in my life I was working on this project that was supposed to be moving forward, and it didn't, and I just had this urge to create something, so I wrote a short film, and we ended up sending it to Emily Osmond's agent, and with no intention of getting her, because I'd never made anything, I'd never directed, and she basically accepted the offer of $125. And we made this in a couple of days, and it's really about this young girl who has a strained relationship with her mother, who has an imaginary friend named Mr. Patterson, who then we later find out is the manifestation of her alcoholic, abusive father. So it ends up being really dark. And then the next clip that we're showing is the short film I actually just finished a couple of weeks ago. I was brought on to write and direct this for the lead actress. It's about social media.
That's why I surround myself with such amazing friends. Thanks for an unforgettable night. Love you all. Hashtag friends.
Trying to pose like Troy Bolton. I may or may not have dreamt about High School Musical last night. Hey, hashtag school, bro.
Love getting the sneak peek at our most perfect day. Hashtag blessed. Sharing some of the magic captured back in September. Hashtag best day had so much fun on set today. Hashtag set life. Hashtag living.
My old pair of pants that were 11. Hashtag yacht guitar.
Love such pretty faces to be coming to food. Love you both to be that. Hashtag living. Hashtag girl boss. Hashtag walking into this week like hashtag slay.
So this was, the lead actress wanted to basically make something, and she hired me to write and direct this for her. And what we were talking about was, today we present ourselves as different means on social media, and it's all-consuming, and she wanted something really dark and gritty, and the ending is actually incredibly dark. We won't get into it just because it's that. But it was a great project, and we're submitting to film festivals now. But yeah, so that's kind of the sample of my style. I'm very much in the realm of what nobody wants to buy. I love those dark, small indie dramas that nobody watches. Maybe your grandmother sees it on like a matinee on Monday. So... Oh, there's more.
Yeah, there's a little.
There's more. Maybe someone else will see it too.
So we were just wondering if you could talk a little bit about your day-to-day life as a director and producer.
Yes, so like I said, I do actually have a day job because the amount of projects I've had that I've quit jobs that I'm ready to work 3 days before set, the money just falls through, so you have to go get another job. So day to day, I do have a 9 to 5, clock in, clock out, but other than that, I am writing constantly, even at the job. Don't tell them. I've literally written some of my best work at my desk. But no, when it comes down to actually doing a project like this, it takes weeks to prepare, casting, pre-production, getting your shot lists, all the rentals, all the pickups. It's a lot of fun. But being on set is my happy place. That is where the magic happens. And I don't know the facilities you guys have, you guys get a taste of that, and it's incredible. I don't think you realize how lucky you are that you guys get those facilities. And these. But no, day to day is every minute I don't have my job, I'm writing or working on a pitch.
So your work is amazing. We love seeing those innovations. But I mean, with stuff like this, you're gonna have difficulties. So what would you say is like the hardest part of your job?
Rejection. Actually, I've gotten used to rejection just because they invented Tinder, so it makes it really easy. I think actually it's the false starts. It's the people who come in and they attach themselves and they fall out. So you have a project moving forward, and then it just falls apart. I get no all the time. I don't know, look at how cute I am. Like, but when you're writing, you just have to constantly accept no's, and you can't get your hopes up anymore.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to be cynical, but it's just the reality of it.
And lastly, how did you get involved in your field?
I got involved in my field because I had this insatiable thirst to create, and I wasn't waiting for any opportunities, so I decided to make them myself.
So next off, we're gonna start with Kendall. So, yeah. So would you first like to show off your work for?
Yeah, it's not really my work per se. Okay, let me just give a little bit of a background here. So we have this hype reel that kind of pitches me and my writing partner as like a comedy duo and kind of explains everything that we did. I did re-edit it today, taking out certain moments that were not high school appropriate, so forgive me if it doesn't look amazing, but this is just so you can get a vibe of like, kind of like David said, we like created our own opportunities and we did this ourselves, like all ourselves. So I'm not showing like my pilot or anything, but it's a little bit of a hype reel and it has some moments from my pilot. Yeah.
Okay, sounds good.
Cool.
To whom this may concern, I, Kevin Pollack, love the Eskimo Sisters.
Hi, I'm Kendall. And I'm Lily.
And we're the Eskimo Sisters.
The Eskimo Sisters.
Eskimo Sisters!
In the UK, we love
The Eskimo Sisters.
We love the Eskimo Sisters.
I love the Eskimo Sisters. The Eskimo Sisters. The Eskimo Sisters. I absolutely love the Eskimo Sisters. The Eskimo Sisters. I love the Eskimo Sisters. 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 No, I love the Eskimo Sisters. No, I love the Eskimo Sisters. No, I love the Eskimo Sisters. The Eskimo Sisters.
What's good, you sassy? What's so blessed? You little cute.
Our goal is to empower women to be edgy, daring, and confident.
As many of you know, we've been working our tails off trying to get our content out there through our page.
And to you, Hollywood, we think we might just be your unicorn.
We wrote this and it like... So we wrote it 2 years ago when we were at the end of college, and it kind of got a lot of buzz, and we kind of kept going far with it. We were like, what? It's hard.
What? Like it's hard?
We're tough. We both want to act in it. We both want creative control. We want to be staff writers on it. So instead of just giving the network a script, we're giving them a proof of concept that we did ourselves. We went through casting. We cast all of the actors.
Here we are, executive producing a TV show. And then you're like, mini fridge! And you say that, and you're like this, and you shoot right there.
Intimate moment, and you just are brought out of that. It's almost like a shock.
I also kind of want it to be like, hey, quick,
You're not embarrassed or anything, but
yeah, like I don't want a big shift in your face.
If you have something you want to say to me, say it to my face.
Alexa?
Yes.
Why don't we get a little behind the scenes on your bougie Instagram?
Doesn't the pic go?
She was born illiterate.
Social media is fake.
It's weird, we're cousins.
Hi everyone, I'm Dylan. And I'm poor.
We're like really squished in the bed, like them old people from that movie with the kid with the ticket, and they were in the factory, and there's like chocolate. and the old dude got up and he couldn't walk.
Is the cat the Old Australian Chocolate Factory?
No, not that one.
Let me work it. Point A down, flip it and reverse it. It's your primitive is when it's your.
You actually got yourself like 4 Fendi furries, 3 lines of boo-boo dust, 2 gigolos.
And a full dream party.
And can you explain this? Or this? Or actually, any of these?
I gave you a perfectly good home in my womb for 9 months.
You know what we need?
Something straight up.
Not liquor. A group hug!
No, I don't really like physical contact like that.
It's a
This is definitely cheaper. Oh yeah, it is.
So come on, Mazel, help us break that glass ceiling. It doesn't even hurt that much. Love not life. Love not life.
Be on the lookout.
That's all, folks.
So that was all edited today, and it went okay. So I'm like kind of happy right now. So yeah, did you ask me a question? Okay.
Oh, no, not yet,
Okay.
but I'm going to right now.
Okay.
So you talked a little bit before in your intro about how you met your co-founder Lily Drew at Alumni, right? So
Yeah.
Could you talk a little bit about how you both started Eskimo Sisters?
Yeah, so Lily and I were like best friends probably from like day one of college. We were, I guess we weren't like best friends, but we were good friends. We'd go out together. We kind of hung out with the same crowd, and we were both kind of the same personality, where we always attracted like interesting, quirky people and like experiences to ourselves, I would say. So we lived on different floors, but we'd go out like the night before, meet people, have a weird, funny story, and then it'd be like story time, and our floor would like gather around and we'd talk about what we had done or whatever, what happened. And we both kind of realized we had the same knack for like storytelling and the same sort of like sense of humor, I would say, but we never thought to like write together. We were both screenwriting majors. She actually started as an acting major and then switched over to screenwriting, but I think for us, what really solidified it is we came back from studying abroad my senior year, and we both had these like just larger than life sort of experiences abroad, and we also thought there was a lot of comedy in the fact that like, I don't know, just sort of like what people post when they go abroad versus like the reality of what happens, a bit like touching on the social media thing. Our pilot's called Love Not Likes, and that doesn't really show what it's about, because again, I'm not an editor and I can't like fully portray the story, but it's making fun in a kind of dark comedic way about the satire of social media and the facade that people kind of put out versus the reality. And we were like, we didn't tell, you don't post like the time that you like accidentally flew to the wrong country, or like, almost got like arrested because you couldn't understand German and got on the wrong train. Like, you don't post that stuff. You post like the perfect little, I'm at Oktoberfest and my little dirndl thing. And we're like, so we had all these stories, and we're like, well, maybe we should write something together. And at the time, I was an intern at Sony and the reality TV department, actually working on like Shark Tank and stuff, like in development. And the chairman at the time, Steve Moscow, he was the chairman for like 25 years. He just retired, and now he started his own studio, but cool, that's cool. I wish I could just start my own studio. Casual. He came in and sort of talked to the interns, and he's like, hi guys, I'm Steve, like I have an open door policy, please come talk to me. And I think this is a really big thing if you want to make it in this, if you want to, I haven't made it yet, I have a day job at Sugarfish, like that's my day job, but if you really want this, what you should do is take every opportunity and knock on people's doors and don't be afraid. And he kind of came in and he's like, please come see me, I want to help interns. So I went and saw him, and I was like, hey Steve, I really want to be a writer. And he's like, well, have you written anything? And I'm like, yes, I've written a lot of things, but in particular, me and my best friend started writing the script together, and we like meditated and like talked about life, and I got to be friends with this guy, and he was just like, you know what, come pitch it to me. And I was like, wait, really? And he's like, yeah, come pitch it to me. So I called Lily. I remember like being at my desk, like trying to work on this deck for this like new reality show, and just like, I was like, Lily, we gotta pitch with Steve. And she was like, I was so excited. And then I looked up and Seth Rogen was casually leaning on my cubicle, and I was like, well, Tony, whatever. So then Lily and I went to our sitcom professor, and named David Garber, who is my favorite teacher of all time, and he was like, actually worked in the industry as a television writer for a long time, and we were like, David, we have this pitch with Steve, we really need guidance, we need help actually making this a real pitch. And so we sat down with him and spent hours making this whole kind of pitch deck, and I think Steve expected us to show up with a very half-baked idea, and he was giving us a chance to pitch as interns, but we showed up naturally in German dirndls. We looked like a weird birthday gram walking through the pristine halls of Sony Pictures, and we pitched this idea, and halfway through, Steve slams his hand on the desk and he's like, wait a minute, I blank love this idea. And we're like, wait, really? And he's like, yeah, I love this idea. I need you guys to pitch this to my son over at Happy Madison. And we had also made this little video together. It was us rapping about studying abroad, and it's actually the most embarrassing thing I've ever made. We made it on an iPhone, an Apple photo booth thing, and we showed that during our pitch. And he was like, not only do I think this is a great idea, but you two have something together, and I think you guys should start pushing content out on social media so people can understand your voice. And we're like, we don't want to be YouTubers at all, but it kind of helped us to start creating these videos as a platform so that when we walk into meetings, people already know us and they're like, oh, that's their tone, that's their vibe. And that kind of from there, things sort of just started happening. But I would say the biggest thing that got me noticed was this sketch I did called PSA Millennials in the Workplace. And it was this dark comedy, testimonials of different millennials, that had office jobs and, hated their lives and stuff. And I ironically, me and Lily co-wrote that together while we were both office coordinators at production companies, and I, had to, take the phone to the bathroom and, connect calls. I wasn't allowed to just, go to the bathroom, and I was like, this is really insane. I wonder if, the head of this studio knew if I was going to the bathroom while connecting this call, what he would think. And then I was like, you know what, I should write this down. So we wrote this sketch together because we hated our office jobs, and then we got a lot of people to share it, and it got a lot of attention, and that kind of got a lot of things rolling for us. So I'm so sorry, I tend to just over talk, and I don't really know where this is going, but I guess what I was saying is that I would just create your own content. I think that's really important. Oh, you were asking me how the Eskimo Sisters started.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I overtalk so much. Wow, I exhaust myself.
No worries. Well, thank you for that. This one can go out to anyone, but because I know you're working in comedy, how do you guys know what's going to get that laugh?
You don't. That's the thing. Here's the thing. I just think that every single person is a unique individual and has different day-to-day experiences and things that are funny to them. I think that Lily and I have never once tried to be oh, we're gonna do what everyone else thinks is funny. We're we think this is hysterical, and hopefully someone else finds this funny too, And everyone has a different perspective, and that makes you a quirky individual, who you are. And I think it's just leaning into that, I'm very ADD, in case you can't tell. I have a plethora of different learning struggles and issues, and I lose my debit card every day, things like that. But I probably have food on my face. I'm a huge empath. My Instagram bio is the girl who feels everything except for the crumbs on her face, and that's literally me. So it's leaning into who you are and just going with that. I would say, don't do it for anyone else. Don't try to be something that you're not. Just be you. And if people think it's funny, then that's awesome. If they don't, who needs them? I guess that's how I would say that.
Really great.
Yeah.
So next up, we're gonna pass it on to Eric. Yeah. So would you like to show your?
Sure. So let me show the first one, the long one first, actually. The other one. Sorry, it's not that long. It's 4.5 minutes. So this is what we pitched to History Channel to sell the show. As you'll see, it's about 80 to 90% stuff we shot, and 10% stuff we absolutely do not have the rights to, like the Imagine Dragons song. So this is a sizzle reel, so it's kind of like a trailer, but you're pitching it to someone who's going to give you a lot of money to make it, as opposed to buy a ticket of it. I did not cut this whole thing. Our lead editor cut this thing, and I did some polls and stuff. But afterwards, I'm going to show you the cold open to the show, which has a lot of parallels to this.
And on the 8th day, God looked down on his planned paradise and said, I need a caretaker. God had to have somebody willing to ride the ruts at double speed to get the hay in ahead of the rain clouds and yet stop in midfield and race to help when he sees the first smoke from a neighbor's place. God said, I need somebody willing to sit up all night with a newborn colt and watch it die and dry his eyes and say, maybe next year. I need somebody who can shave an axe handle, grow a persimmon sprout, shoe a horse with a hunk of car tire, who planting time and harvest season will finish his 40-hour week by Tuesday noon and then painting from tractor back put in another 72 hours. So God made a farmer.
Farming is a gamble every single day of our lives.
I've had years where I actually made pretty good money, and I've had years where I didn't think I would make it to next year's.
It's a game of mitigating as many risks as you can control.
As a child, you would wait and watch from far away, but you always knew that you'd be the one to work while they all play.
It takes a lot of skill to be a farmer. We have to be a good mechanic.
We designed these and they are just extremely slick.
We have to be a good veterinarian, have to be a good carpenter.
Get your butt over there now!
How bad, how much?
Okay, let's make this nice and easy, like we said.
You lay awake at night, scheme of all the things that you would change, but it was just a dream.
Once the crop gets ready, the only good thing that can happen is you get it harvested. Everything else that happens is bad.
That's from those worms. They ate it like locusts, really.
Is that storm gonna hit us?
I always say Mother Nature is your worst enemy and your best friend. We've all had extremely close calls.
Multiple broken bones. Be careful that PTO shaft and grab your clothes wrapped yesterday. Oh my gosh. Watch out!
Will come when you have to rise above the rest and prove yourself. Your spirit never dies.
We can grow a crop all summer long and have it taken out in the last week before it's ready to go.
Who's the best farmer?
Either you will get paid or you will not get paid. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Who's the hardest working?
We've got a situation here with a farmer or a child is entrapped in a grain bin. It may be more of a recovery than it will be a rescue.
Who's the biggest slapper?
I've been through the playground, I've been down through the battlefield.
And it does allow us a real perspective on life that most people don't get to see.
I was born a farmer, and I'm going to die a farmer. I don't have a problem with that. I'm happy with that.
So that is one of the many things we sent to History Channel to end up getting funding. They had already given us development funding at that point to go out and shoot that stuff. This is the first minute and a half of the pilot episode. And so you can see similarities. Obviously we now have VO in because we're setting up, because we're working with the network, because we're setting up the series. And it's obviously trimmed down. but you can see what it kind of became for the beginning of the show.
And on the 8th day, God looked down on his planned paradise and said, I need a caretaker. So God made a farmer.
America was built on agriculture.
You know, this farm has been in continuous operation since 1882.
Over 40% of the country is active farmland, employing 3.5 million people.
Yeah, I got you, didn't I?
This is the great untold story of men and women who put food on our tables.
I've had years where I actually made pretty good money. And I've had years where I didn't think I would make it to the next year.
From seed to stalk.
And you went off and bought a farm, basically didn't tell me.
And farm to market.
You got one shot. You screw up and you're out of business.
We're gonna have a bad year.
This is the American farm.
It takes everybody on the farm. It takes all of us to make it go.
I was born a farmer, and I'm gonna die a farmer. I don't have a problem with that. I'm happy with that.
Okay, so Eric, I just wanted to first start talking about how you mentioned that you were a videographer for U-Michigan, their football team, and then you worked a little bit with monologues at the Conan O'Brien show, and now you're an editor. So I was just wondering, how do you specialize in so many different aspects of the media industry?
I would say it's just kind of like looking at the things that you do like things that made you interested in this industry, and looking at those people who made those things and trying to kind of go backwards from that. Like look at those things analytically and kind of reverse engineer to the point that you start developing habits that are no longer analytical, but they're like intuitive. So when I'm cutting, it's like, okay, I'm not cutting from medium to medium shot. I'll confuse geography. People won't understand. Like I don't have to think about that anymore. It's just I kind of naturally do that, which I would say is what I've done on any level with writing, on jokes, on editing. It's just kind of committing to like really analyzing and studying a thing like you'd study anything else, but then like doing it a lot. Like I got lucky at least for screenwriting. I started writing on my own and doing web content on my own, and then I went to Chapman, so I got people who were better than it to talk to me about it. I got a bunch of good people who I could bounce ideas off of. At Bobcat, our lead editor who cut that sizzle, he is like the best unscripted editor in the world. He's been nominated for 10 straight Emmys and he won 5 in a row, and they had to change how they structured Emmys specifically so he would stop winning. And he's a really, really nice guy. So like, it's like fun, it's like really committing to certain things and trying to look at them analytically and working at them, but also just finding the right sort of like mentors for that as well.
What made you decide to go with the farming topic? Because, I mean, seeing it now, it's a really, really interesting topic, but how would you have chosen that with so many different things that are offered?
So the pitch itself, initially I thought was so boring. When they're just like, oh, it's about farms. I'm like, all right, dude. And then when they casted it and when they shot it and then I kind of saw how it was going to work, then I became more interested because that, for our company, it's their production studio, we pitched it to different networks, they'll give us the money. So once they gave us that first development money, this was actually the idea of one of one of my bosses, one of the partners of the company. And so he convinced History to give us a certain chunk of money to send out like one AP, or one associate producer, one shooter producer, and our showrunner to just these 5 farms. Or actually, we sent it to 6. If you see in the sizzle, there's one family that got cut. But yeah, but anyways, so they send us that, and then you kind of shape it, and you kind of find the story in there. So the farm idea was not my idea. Like I'm on board with it now because I've seen what it is, and because it also employs me. But the end result, I mean, obviously it's a pretty show. You know, it looks very nice. The drone shots are like insane throughout. Like our first cut of the first episode, their note, and don't spread this, but their note, the network note was too pretty and too well scored because it was just like giant, like expansive shots, beautiful drone shots, slow-mo, like Americana, like Rudy Field of Dreams stuff, you know? And so like they actually wanted it grittier and stuff, and we found a medium like somewhere in the middle. But yeah, I mean, it wasn't really my idea. I just helped kind of get the process going and move it along.
And now we have a little bit more of a general question, but how do you come up with that, like more original ideas that haven't been done before?
I think whenever you're trying to tell any sort of story, you just want it to be something that you would like, right? Something you're passionate about, and something that has some sort of connection to you, right? So when you're building that, if you're building it from your experience and your perspective on life and like your hopes and dreams and nightmares and questions about the world, you know? If you're building it from all of that, I think your foundational elements, your characters, your story, your setting, your themes, are all going to be personal enough that everything from that grows and becomes original. If you're trying to pitch something like you had said before that someone else might like, but you might not, if you're trying to pitch like, oh, La La Land just came out, let's just pitch musicals, which happened, everyone, yeah, I like La La Land too, but like everyone was just pitching musicals then, and they're like, hey, you're not Damien Chazelle, like you're not doing this. So if you're working on something that you're passionate about and you're really interested in, and some kernel of it comes from you, not only will that make it more original, it'll also make it a lot easier through rewrites and stuff, because you're like, it's kind of attached to you. But.
All right, and this last one's going out to all of you guys, but where do you hope to be going within the next couple of years? And do you guys have an end target goal, or is there something that you really want to do in order to just like spread your work as a whole?
I am still most interested in the scripted side, so I would like to shoot like a budget feature, write direct. I write all the time just like all of them, I write all the time when I'm not editing. So I would like to get something going there. So probably that would either mean a short or a trailer or something to get funding and then to go from there. But
that was to all of us? Or just,
oh yeah, everybody.
Okay. It's you don't necessarily want an end goal because you're always going to be disappointed. That's not it. Right now it's hard because you always have like this 3, 5, 10, like 15-year goal plan. Well, actually, a lot of people I've talked to, they don't. And I guess I'm weird to have one. But in the next year or two, we hope the dream boards. That's too out there for me. It's too elusive. Like this book I'm adapting, we've been shopping it around. We're packaging it actively. So the thing with that is, in the next year, it could take another year to get it made, or next week we get the call and we move to New York and we shoot it. So that in the next year or two, we hope to move to New York, shoot that one. And actually, like Kendall, I shot my own pilot that I wrote about drag queens. It's about a drag queen vigilante superhero. So if you want to see me in full drag, wild. It's wild. And now I have so much respect for women. High heels are not fun. I have so much respect. She's wearing heels now. But no, then I'm shooting another short in June, 2 potentially, and I've written now 10 features, 3 TV shows. So as soon as one of them starts to get off the ground, I just hope to actively basically set them up for the next couple of years.
So my goal is hopefully by Christmas 2020, you will see a Christmas movie out there with my name on it, written by me. That's very optimistic, but I do feel like our Christmas movie is moving pretty fast, and we have some big players, big actors attached to it. I think the concept is very now, and it's very about female empowerment, and a lot of people are attracted to like the concept. I wish I could tell you guys it, but I can't. But I do think that movie is going to move very fast. I think with Love Not Likes and this other pilot I wrote with Lily called Millennial Messiah, like those two ones I hope to see kind of as the years sort of, hopefully Love Not Likes I would love to sort of sell within the next year or two. my end goal is to be the kind of millennial version of Tina Fey and Amy Poehler. That's my dream one day, is to have a musical based on a movie I wrote. That's just how I feel like when you know you've made it, you know what I mean? Like, I want to write a Broadway play one day. But I dream big, but I think that you should. And I think that if you believe that you have it, you will. There's been a lot of highs and lows. I feel like David was saying, and like Eric was saying too. I mean, I've had so many almosts, and I think you have to learn. It's like when you're like dating, like for the first time too, you know, you can't just put all your eggs in one basket on like that one person. You kind of have to keep your options open, right? And then you're kind of like, oh wait, this worked out. Wow, I really like this person. I'm in love suddenly. Whoa. But like, you can't put all your eggs in one basket.
Multiple people at one time.
No. Like I'm saying, that's what I am saying. I am saying that. No. I'm not saying like say you're in a relationship with 10 people. I'm just saying like when you're first starting to talk to someone and you really like them and you really want it to work out with one person. This is not high school. I don't think this is. I'm just saying like all I'm saying is
only take one person to prom.
Yeah, no, I'm a romantic. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying it's like you want to cast your net wide, and you don't want to put all your eggs on one specific thing working out. And I think that's just life in general. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm sure you guys are. I should have used this example. I don't know why I didn't. Colleges. That's way better. So you're applying to colleges. You really, really want to go to USC, right?
Right on.
Right, and I'm saying, not saying anything about USC, right? But like, there's also probably a million other schools that you'd be really happy at, and you don't even know what's the best fit for you. So that's kind of what I'm saying, is that you just kind of have to put it all out there, and something's gonna happen.
That's
Yeah.
incredible. Yeah. Let's give it up.
There we go.
Go ahead. Longer? I can make this one longer. Yeah. So right now we're gonna open up the questions to the audience. So does anyone have a question for our speakers? There. Maddie will.
Okay, I won't be able to run around. I'm going to use the wireless one. We can pass this one down a little bit. So here, I'm going to go like this, and then they can use this mic, and then I'll follow you.
Yeah.
All right, questions. All right.
So, as a parent of a student who's looking to go to college and actually go into film, could you each talk about your experiences at the schools that you went to, starting as a freshman and moving on to your senior year of internships and so forth, and how that process went?
Yes. First of all, congratulations. It's a very scary process. It's going to be a lot of fun. No, it's funny because I went to USC first as a theater major, and then I basically, throughout my years, transferred into film, and I never actually took a directing or screenwriting class. So my freshman year, I was really involved in doing the student productions and doing a lot of plays, and then as the years went on, I minored in entrepreneurship as well, so then I found out that if you want to make something, you have to actually write something. So I wrote a script, and I had a friend who worked in development, and I showed it to her. And it was awful. It was just so bad. But I wrote it, and I shared it with her, and she came back and she said, "David, this isn't awful." And I said, "Thank you so much. I can pack up, go home, I've made it." But I worked on that script for about 2 years before I felt comfortable actually sharing it with more people, and I fell in love with writing because writing is the only thing you don't need permission to do. You can sit in your room for hours on end and create magic. And I don't know if anybody saw The Wife.
Yeah.
Thank goodness, because I thought I was going to be alone. Anyway, one of the lines is, "A writer needs to write." No, honey, a writer needs to be read. Which, I mean, yes and no, but at the same time, you just need to keep writing. And in terms of if you want to be an editor or a director, you just have to keep working on the work. I recommend this movie to everyone who wants to pursue entertainment. Don't think twice. It's a movie with Keegan-Michael Key, Gillian Jacobs. It is the most realistic depiction of pursuing entertainment I've ever seen on screen. It is about this improv troupe in New York, and they're all in their mid-30s. They haven't really made it yet, and then one of them gets onto SNL. It's not a spoiler, it's in the first act. And it's about how the troupe deals with one of their friends becoming successful and how success divides them and how they all want the same thing. And at the end of the day, you can't all have it. But it's about working on the work, not working on the people who can get you there. So if you work on the craft, then I didn't answer the full question. So freshman year, drama, and then basically the majority of everything I learned was outside. And let me demystify everything. Going to USC, because USC Film School is really popular, LMU, Chapman, it doesn't matter where you go. It has nothing to do with where you go. It has everything to do with who you are. Steven Spielberg went to Long Beach. Everyone assumes he went to USC. And I will say this too. I went to a USC film graduation where Kevin Feige spoke. And if you don't know who he is, he runs it's an independent studio, you may have heard of it, Marvel. The most profitable studio of all time. And Kevin said his dream was go to USC. So he got rejected from film school, so he went for like a communications degree. So he applied as a transfer his second semester, and he got rejected. So he applied his sophomore year, and he got rejected. He applied a fourth time, he got rejected. He applied a fifth time, and he got rejected. It wasn't until his sixth time that he was rejected again. And then after that, they basically said, we're tired of reading your application, get in. But what it just goes to show you, it has nothing to do, it wasn't because he went to USC that he's running Marvel, it's because he applied 7 times. And it's, look, you guys have facilities that a lot of colleges don't have. And you need to take that and don't take it for granted. Because what you learn here, what you learn on your own time is going to be way more valuable than that.
The original question was our
Your process in
journey.
college, and I totally just went off.
Okay. So, is this on?
Yeah.
So I actually, my dream school was LMU, because when I went and visited the campus, I was just sort of like, whoa, this is LA and I'm in love with it. There was like, everyone was like, seemed really happy and beautiful and was like riding beach cruisers everywhere, and I could see the ocean, and I was like, I'm such a vibes person. Like, the campus was gorgeous and I felt like really good energy there, so I was like, this kind of feels like me. And then on top of that, I shadowed a screenwriting class, and and I just remember walking in and I couldn't see, like, I was like, where's the professor, Jeffrey Davis? I'm supposed to meet him here. And this like he's this tiny little man, and this little chair just sort of slowly spins around, and he's got this little flat cap on, and he's like, what's up? And then says a profane word, and I'm like, to like the whole class, and I'm like, dude, this guy's hilarious. And I sat in on the class, and he was just so, just like, going, like, talk about tangents. Like, I don't think they ever got to like what the topic was, but was just going off, and I was just like, I felt a very good vibe there. And so for me, like, I knew USC and UCLA were like higher up rank-wise or whatever that was, but that didn't really matter to me. And also I think, going to Saratoga High, there's a lot of people that want to do things in specific fields, and you don't have, and this program's phenomenal, but you don't have a lot of people that are like out here like saying, I want to be a writer, like I want to be an actor. So, for me, I was just kind of like, I think I've always sort of been the person to march to my own drumbeat in a lot of ways. My parents are here, you can ask them, probably ever since I was a kid, I've always been that sort of person. But for me, I was like, I think this is, everyone should do this, like, don't pick a school. I know this is probably not what people want to hear, but don't pick it because someone else wants you to go there, or because it's like the top rank or the top this. Pick it because it feels like you, and you feel like you're gonna flourish there and you're gonna do well. I really think that's so important. I think that's so important, especially in this community, because I know it's really hard, and I know that grades are a really big deal, and I'm not saying that that's not important, but I just think, like, based off what David said, my learning and where I am in the film industry and the connections I've made were not because of the school I chose. They were because I chose to go into Steve Moscow's office. They were because I snuck onto the Stony lot and passed out 2018 calendars of me and my writing partner when no one even knew who we are. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, they were because I have t-shirts my dad can turn around and show you right now with my face on them, and I passed them out so everyone knew who I was. It's like, you gotta just, like, what? You know what I mean? And it's like, you gotta just hustle. It's all in the hustle of it. And I think so then when you do go to, if you do go for film or whatever it is, using those connections and using your alumni network. My professor, David Garber, who helped me with my pitch, is everything to me. And he's the reason that we did so well in our first pitch meeting. And I, went to him for advice. And with internships, I would start looking for one early. I got my first internship, I believe sophomore year, and it was, I'm sure everyone can relate to this, doing coverage.
Yes,
reading scripts, really bad ones, and writing notes on them, and usually are doing it unpaid. And I did that, but I started my sophomore year, and then I finally got, getting an internship at Sony was really hard, but I finally got through the doors to get the internship at Sony, which is what got me the meeting, which is what got me to Happy Madison. So I don't think it matters where you go. It just matters utilizing where you are. And if you want to pursue film, I think being in LA for me was really helpful because you can go and intern at a production company or do this and that. So I would say that interning at Sony was really big for me. And then what happened after that? Sorry. I'm talking. I'll wrap
playing
this
the
up.
music.
I'll wrap this up. You guys gotta get out of here. It was sort of so that I interned my senior year, and then I thought things were gonna move faster, and they didn't. And I got an office job as an. Is this off?
They turned you off. You're definitely.
It was an accident.
Oh.
Second? It's fine. Sorry. Yeah, sorry. I apologize.
It's okay. Is the mic? Is the
Try it
mic
again.
on?
There we go. Yeah, there we go.
Okay. So anyway, I'll wrap this up. But so my first job out of college was I was an office coordinator at this company that did visual effects, and I was very unhappy there. And to be honest, I got fired. But that for me was just not really my path. I'm one of those people that kind of on my face. First of all, they told me that they loved my personality, but I just didn't seem happy there, and I seemed like I was writing on my computer all day, which is exactly what I was doing. So for me, I found that I did much better by not having a job as an assistant or this and that, although I did work as a production assistant on the show Shark Tank for a bit, and actually on The Bachelor. But yeah, which by the way, I can tell you some stories about that. But for me, I got those production assistant jobs because I interned at Sony and my old boss hooked those up for me. But that's not really what has helped me get the people attached to my projects or this and that. What's helped me with that is, yes, having the connections, but like David said, working on my craft and posting my content and having a voice and having a presence. And yeah, social media is really difficult. I mean, my whole pilot is literally about how the facade that people put out and how it feeds into depression and anxiety and false ideas of who people are and all that. But I do think it's something you can utilize in this day and age. And if you want to be a writer, write something and then get your friends together and produce it and put it out there and send it along to people, because it only takes one person seeing that to open a door for you. And those are the things that have gotten me to where I am, not really, my path has been very this and that and this and that. And that's what I would say, yeah. And then with my pilot, I raised money on Indiegogo, and I met an investor through just networking, and that's what got me the funds to do it and make it happen. So yeah, I hope I answered that question.
I would just say, the best thing about going to film school is you meet other people who are interested in it and are serious about it. And so find people that you actually like and people that you like working with. Don't be the person who's just networking with people unless you want to be an agent. But
don't do that.
But then just be on sets and make as much stuff as possible. While you're here, just make as much stuff as possible. Because that's really realistically, you're almost on borrowed time there. You're in college. We're working full-time jobs and we're still trying to do that. When you're in college, make a lot of stuff and learn from it and find the people you want to work with outside of school.
All right, we'll take a couple more questions, and let's see, Rachel. Yeah, you can try to keep your answers a little shorter.
Sorry.
When you guys have an idea, you say you lock yourself in a room and you just go on your computer all day. So how often do you do that, and how exhausting is that to do that for several ideas you have, and how do you kind of divide your time through ideas to make something?
For me personally, I want to work on more than one project at once, so if I get stuck on one, I can move to the other. So if I'm on pages in one, I should be outlining on the other. But if I'm working on too many, then my head explodes. So. But having another thing to jump to helps, because otherwise you're just beating your head against a wall, and you get stuck. It's natural, you know.
For me, my inspiration, for whatever reason, is on the treadmill. I'll just be running and have an idea, so I've actually had to run out of a class before and go write it down. But I'm the same way. I always have to have multiple projects moving. Otherwise, you just you get writer's block and you move on. Like this novel that I just adapted, we started it 2 weeks ago. We already have the first draft. But I also have 2 shorts that we're developing and rewriting. So it's, and bourbon helps.
You're right. I didn't bring it with me.
I would say for me, actually, the biggest thing is I have a writing partner. So I'm not sitting by myself, and Lily and I have kind of, I would say, a kinetic energy in the sense that, like, we're acting out this thing as it's happening. And I would say that if you see us writing in a coffee shop, you're like, are these girls good? Like, is there something off here? Because we're, like, talking to ourselves and, like, getting up and moving around and saying, okay, like, this would be really funny if this happened here. And I think that if you want to write, especially in television, having a partner is amazing. If you have a best friend and they're also creative, and you'll probably meet that person in college, you know, do something with them, because I have sit in a room by myself and written a script, and that's amazing. And I do like doing that, but I think having someone to bounce off ideas, so you're like, is this even funny? Oh, you think it's funny too? At least that makes 2 of us. I think that's a really big thing for us, you know? So, yeah.
More questions?
What's studying abroad like?
Amazing. Phenomenal. It was the best semester of my entire life. Well, no, actually after college. Here's the thing. High school for me wasn't great. It wasn't, but you know, college was amazing, and I was like, wow, this is the best time of my life. And then after college, I was like, oh my God, wait, actually, this is the best time of your life. Because it's really hard, and it's a struggle, but for once, you don't have to, you're doing exactly what you want to do for your life and your career path, and you don't have to kind of answer to anyone else in a way. I mean, you still have a boss and stuff, but I think that's what I would say. But studying abroad was so much fun, and I think everyone should do it, because it really pushes you, especially in a place where you don't speak the language, because it really pushes you outside of your comfort zone. And I mean, in terms of needing ideas for comedy or anything, or just different perspectives, like, it's an amazing experience. Especially if you're going to like Europe or something. I mean, you can travel so cheap. Like, you can bop on over to the next country and like stay in a hostel for like 20 euro and just have all kinds of cool experiences, and I strongly recommend doing it. And I went through a film program, so I actually made a documentary while I was abroad about a vegetable orchestra based in Vienna, Austria. That's like this group of anarchists, and they make instruments out of vegetables. And yes, it was called Fresh Beats.
Yeah, it is.
And it was, such a pun, so many puns. But yeah, it was amazing. I don't think I really properly did that justice, but I'm trying to keep my answer short. Do it. Everyone should study abroad. Yeah.
None of us did.
Yeah, we
You didn't?
No.
Sounds sick.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
Do it.
More questions?
So how do you build up like the self-confidence to write the script and just not give up and hit the wall, or to pursue the film industry and not be scared of failure?
I think that just in general, like, you get rejected so much in this industry, like, the last thing you want to do is just reject yourself, right? I have like very unreasonable levels of confidence, but it's because I know I can work hard and I can figure it out, you know? Like, if you just have that as a base, if you're like a good person and you work hard, you can make it, right? There's a lot of people who forgot that good person part, like in college, because they're trying to make up for the fact of not having talent and not really working that hard, right? So if you're a good person and you can work hard and you have like a passion for it, you're gonna make it. It's just, you gotta kind of just power through. You know, I don't know if that answered it all, but that's...
You will fail, and you will be rejected constantly. But So in school you start to realize that a lot of your friends start to leave the entertainment industry because it's really hard. I know when I went to LA, people would tell my parents, "Oh, David's pursuing entertainment. That's hard." Yeah, it's really hard. I mean, you will have nights where you cry yourself to sleep. That's just the reality of it. But I had a friend who is an actress, and she actually ended up moving to New York to do Broadway. But she was about to give up, and I told her, "That's fine. I don't care. That doesn't affect me at all. But if you want to do this, the only thing you have to ask yourself is if you're willing to find out what your number is. Everybody has a number. Everyone gets a certain amount of rejections before that one that really hits them off. Brad Pitt had 200 auditions before he actually booked anything. Emma Stone had, I think, like 12. She just lucked out. That doesn't happen. But your number could be 2. It could be 200. It could be 2,000. But if you're willing to find out what your number is, keep going.
I think you just kind of learn I think it's really important what Eric said too, is that it doesn't matter because you're going to get rejected, but that's life. You're going to get rejected at every single stage of your life. As long as you are staying true to yourself and you believe in what you're doing, eventually someone's going to see that and it's going to work out for you. And it almost is just like learning to just go through life, not really, kind of just rolling with the punches and not really caring like what anyone else says of you. Because I've had so many times where one person told me, "Oh no, like wow, that's you're ambitious to get that," and then I made it happen. You know, I got that person attached to my pilot. I got this and that because I believed that I could. And it's just having that level of confidence in yourself and having a passion, like you have something you want to tell the world, do it. You know what I mean? And it's going to hurt and it's going to suck and you're going to take it personally at first, but then you eventually just kind of don't take it personally, because I think in life, like not everyone is going to be for you, right? But the people that you're going to reach someone. Even if like today, like I reached one person, like that's what matters. You know what I mean? So I think that's,
one thing.
Yeah.
There's a TED Talk, I think it's Brené Brown, and it's not fake it till you make it, it's fake it till you become it. And there's a few exercises if you actually are worried about lacking in confidence, where you just literally stand in the mirror and you take a certain stance. And it's very much, all of us are faking it till we make it, and it's really faking it till you become it.
Time for one more question.
How do you banish writer's block to the shadow realm?
How do you wait, what?
How do you banish writer's block to the shadow realm?
So you're always going to get writer's block. One of the things at Conan, like a lot of the main monologue writers, they're like, okay, what you do, like you have to create 10, 20 jokes a day off of just topical things. You have to make sure that Colbert or that Fallon or that, God, I lose track of all of them, but that anyone else didn't do a skit or whatever, like they cross-reference it all to make sure they're not duplicating things. So you're required to create jokes. So they're like, if I can't think of anything, I just make like the 15 worst jokes I've ever heard in my life. I just put stuff down, and then it's like, oh, well, these are all the worst ones, so it's only gonna get better from here. Because it's like a job like that, at least, like it seems fun making jokes, but it's like if you have to do a certain number, you just have to kind of power through and have faith in yourself. Like any comedy person at some point, they're like, oh, I might be out of jokes, you know? But like have faith that it'll come around and just kind of power through it like another thing when you have to do it that way.
Aaron Sorkin is a great masterclass in screenwriting. Everyone will get writer's block. You power through it. The real work really begins in the rewriting process anyway. So if you're on a first draft, it's gonna be bad. Just go through it. Just put down anything you can think of and power through that part, because the real work, you're gonna be writing 6, 7, 8 drafts of this thing.
I also think like if you're out with your friends and you see something funny and something happens and you guys are like dying, write it down. I have on my iPhone notes, I have like hundreds of one-liners like that if anyone read them, it'd be like horrible, but like things that I find hysterical in life, so that when Lily and I are going to come up with a sketch or a show or whatever, I go back to that and I'm like, okay, cool, what can we develop out of these? So that you're not, and if you really can't think of anything, go for a walk and like look at the world and be like, okay, cool, what here is funny? Because something's always funny. Maybe it's sad at first, but then it can be funny.
So we just ended the audience questions, so we're about to close off the night. We'd like to thank you, all speakers, for coming here.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks so much. We got the t-shirts for you. They're coming out about 10 feet from 3. I know our speakers are just going to stick around just a little bit more afterwards. If you want to ask them a quick question, go for it. But thank you so much for coming out. We really hope you enjoyed it. Thank you to our speakers too.
Hey everybody, just before you go, I just wanted to give big commendments to the leadership of the MAP program. This class this year has been stellar. My name is Thierry Doyen and I've been running the MAP speaker series on behalf of the MAP boosters for the last 2 years. But this year was just amazing. And I'm looking forward to the sophomores and the freshmen and the juniors in the class to take on and building from where we've been. It's a wonderful program. What a great way to finish the year with our 3 alumni speakers. Thank you so much, David, Eric, and Kendall.
Thank you.
It was a delight. And where's our booster present? Close. We just wanted to, I know there are a lot of students who have been in the MAP speaker series program amongst the students, but we wanted to give a bouquet of flowers to Pretty, to Maddie, and to Kitty for their stellar leadership. Thank you.
Thanks so much, guys. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Yeah, thank you all for coming out. There's MAP apparel over here, like the Eskimo sisters we have to buy.